following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
Maybe we can still heal you. Why? So you could just lock me up? No. Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships. Because they knew death was better than bondage.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding. The shadows betray you because they belong to me.
In the hell do you think you are?
Okay, it's not working out. I'm gonna need the suit back.
For how long?
Forever. Yeah, let's
No,
have it.
please.
Let's have it.
You don't understand. This is all I have. I'm nothing without this suit.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it, okay?
So Oz, this week we are going to finally get to wrap up our sidekick conversation with a brief, very brief recap on mentors and any final touches you want to give it. Since you weren't here for our intro last week, glad to have you here for the beginning. This week we're actually going to talk about something that came up in a conversation you and I were having off the air, talking about, just talking about the show in general and ideas. And we stumbled across the topic of weirdos and trench coats. So Oz, first question, do you own a trench coat?
Awkward pause. And the awkward pause is just that I felt so good when I called you and we started going to it. And then when I got the phone conversation, my mind, as it tends to do, started delving deeper into this. But I'm gonna own it. I own a trench coat. I own a. I'm gonna lay it all out for you. I'm gonna lay it all out for you. Why I own one and why I have one. I am old. I'm old school. So I have a trench coat for my suit. I have one suit, so I have a trench. But I also have this. I've always had this weird, crazy thing about trench coats. Not no apologies, Columbine weirdness, stuff like that. But a trench coat has always been a sign of either. I talked to a friend of mine about this too, because I got really deep into it after I got off the phone with you. It's always been a sign of either like class or quirkiness or craziness. It's those three. And trench coats are easy concealment things, dude. My trench coat, I'll say again, J. Crew, because I think you should only have a London Fog or J. Crew one. We can argue about this later. It's got multiple pockets and it's got a bunch of inside pockets. But yeah, man, I kind of am a little upset with you because like the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yo, regular Scott, it just goes like this. At any point, if you're rocking a trench or a cape, people are like, yo, like you said, people are going, what's that guy doing? But I still think that, legit, there are people in Wall Street that still, they ain't rocking capes. They think they have capes, but they're rocking trench coats in bad weather and stuff,
And listen, I want to make sure I'm very clear. There's nothing wrong with being a weirdo,
Yeah, we're all weirdos.
We're all weirdos in our own way. And if
True.
trench coats is your way of being a weirdo, that is A-okay.
Hey, if you can be a weirdo without violence, be a weirdo.
Absolutely.
But now, if you're a violent weirdo, you need to somewhere else. Pretend like you're Planet Hawk and you're on a space shuttle and someone ships you away somewhere. You don't need to be violent. Be weird. That's the joy of being a weirdo. Is that you're seeing something differently. It's not like you're disgruntled. I see things differently. I need to go hurt people. No.
Well, before we get too into that, let's allow. I'm gonna allow you to kind of put the feather on the cap of the sidekick, mentor, apprentice, or ally conversation type thing. So Oz, go ahead and what do you? I know you have something to say about the mentor aspect, and I'll let you kind of wrap everything up with it right here before we set the table.
This is the pardon me, everybody. To make it really quick.
Yo, listen. Why do you lie to the audience before we even set the table by saying this is going to be quick?
I said to make this really quick, so people, it's going to be relatively quick. So, your sidekick, your ally, whether they fall into the mentor category, the ally category, the acquaintance category too, because there are people that just help you out. Because I also thought about when Spider-Man the movie, when he was unmasked by everybody on the train, but they're like, "You're cool, dude. You're helping us." Those are allies.
Those are not sidekicks, though.
No, wait, but you know what? Those are sidekick acquaintances. Can't I tell you that?
No, you can't.
And hit me up. Tell me they're not sidekick acquaintances because they don't know that dude, but they were helping him at the end of it. A one shot help out. That's it. That's all acquaintances. But to wrap it all up is that, I'll just say this. I don't care how powerful you are, how OP Superman you are, Miracle Man you are, whatever. You need someone to help you. You're not born in this world alone. So you always need an ally. That's it.
So what did that have to do with mentors and apprentice and sidekicks?
Do you not understand?
No, I get it.
So you just said you got it. You just said you got it.
Okay,
so then we're done. We're done.
All right, we're done. I'm just.
This dude just said, "What does that?"
I guess I was expecting more, and you let me down.
Oh, hold on, wait, time out. You wanted me to get it, so I can't win for losing because if I go on a rant, I'm the rant.
That was your opportunity. I gave you the floor to do it.
But then if I try and do New Jack on you and go like, "Hey yo, here it is in a nutshell," I can't win. So I'm
no, man. That was you getting. I gave you the floor to do it, and I told you to do it. And the only thing I said was don't lie to the audience. I ain't said nothing about you going on a rant. I just said don't lie to them.
And for our audience, remember, Regular Scott just said he told me to do it. Out of his own mouth. He said he told me to do it.
Why are you making me sound like a dictator, dude?
Oh, well, no. You just sound like a dick. Not a dictator.
Shout out to Grayson. All right, before we get too deep into things, allow me to set the table. This is Taking Knee from Marvel vs. DC. I am your host, Regular Scott. I am here with my co-host, the comic connoisseur, the mighty Ozzy Killmonger. Oz, what's going on?
What's up, good people?
And you can find us on Twitter at Knee for Marvel vs. DC. That's the number 4. You can also email us at Knee for Marvel vs. DC at GoDefyLife.com. You can find our podcast at DefyLifePods.com. You can also find all of Defy Life podcasts there. We got Unsupervised. We had West Coast Jay on last week. He had the fill for Oz for the first half. Then Oz rudely interrupted our show. So that's available. Check that out. But all those.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, here we go.
Come on. You just said West Coast Jay. Shout out to the macho band Vandal Savage. Look, man, look. How you gonna say he ruined our show.
I didn't say he ruined our show.
No, you said I ruined. You said he, me. I ruined our show. It's our show.
No, I said you interrupted. Interrupted.
Wait. Sorry, interrupted. So you're trying to say that it's you and it's you and Vandal's show, or it's my show? Because you can interrupt. It's like saying, "Hey man, you're sitting on the toilet, dude. You just interrupted your own, your poop." No, dude, they don't work like that.
Well, when you show up late, that's what happens.
Man,
you lose your spot.
In any other circle, being late is considerably fashionably late.
Not at work. You can't show up late to work.
That's pretty true. But hey, but let me tell you something. The way that I operate, and I was late. And by the way, everybody, I did let regular know I was going to be late.
What? Okay, no, we're not getting into that. Anyway, back to what I was talking about.
You don't want to get into it. You can't handle the truth.
No, whatever, man. Like I was saying, find all that at the Five Life Pods. You can find all the different podcasts there. You can also find us on Apple, iTunes, Spreaker, Radio Public, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you get your podcast. Subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. Help us get the word out there. Share it. Tell all your friends about it. Next week, everyone, please pay attention. Next week, we will be doing a giveaway. So for one of our T-shirts, a Take a Knee from Marvel vs. DC T-shirt. Next week, tell everyone to listen into the show because you will find out how to be entered into the giveaway. And in 2 weeks, we will give away a T-shirt. So next week, you will find out how to enter. And in 2 weeks, we will be giving away Take a Knee from Marvel vs. DC T-shirt. So tune in next week. Details for that. There's a little plug for next week. Couple things I kind of want to touch on before we get started. Shout out to... I mentioned the FiveLifePods.com. You can find the flagship, the Five Life Podcast. And shout out to Al from the Five Life Podcast. He had a Zoom birthday party this week that I popped up in, so that was real cool. Shout out to you, Al. Hope you had a good time. And happy birthday on behalf of Take a Knee from Marvel vs. DC. Right, Oz?
Always.
Absolutely. And
in all ways.
And what?
And in all ways. Always and in all ways. We want to give a shout out.
And also, I was a guest on the Crossover Collision podcast with the Villains the Man, JVD, those fine gentlemen, and Evan the Great. We had a nice battleground discussion. And, Oz, can you guess who the two combatants were?
Nightwing? Oh, sorry. Nightcrawler? No. Mr. Terrific?
You gotta tell me. Are you asking me or are you telling me?
No, I'm guessing.
Okay. You were correct. Mr. Terrific versus Nightcrawler.
Oh, I was right on both of them?
Is our matchup. It is one
crap.
that JVD actually and Evan, they actually let me pick out myself. So they allowed me to come on and we had a real good time discussing it. To anyone who is on the fence or wants to know why Mr. Terrific is ready for a bigger role or why, his tech and his intelligence make him such a dangerous threat, this battleground is for you. You will learn a lot about him, a lot about his tech, and kind of how he uses it. And it's very cool how the three of us have 3 different scores. We score differently, a lot of different viewpoints on it. So it's a very good conversation. Make sure you guys check that out. That's already been released. Villains the Man, Crossover Collision, Mr. Terrific versus Nightcrawler. Check that out. Plug for those guys. Oz, you got anything you want to throw in there? Because I do have a new segment specifically for you that we're going to get into. Yes. Just for you. We are
wait. You're going to grace me with a new segment? Oh, God. I'm scared to ask how long it's going to be.
Before we did that, do you have anything that you kind of want to get off your chest or anything? Anything?
Well, I will say this, for my longevity in this comic book game and this nerd game, I've always had a kind of real deep love for Mr. Terrific, Terry Sloan, and our new Mr. Terrific, and and also Nightcrawler, Kirk. You know, it's so weird, man. I've been this is going to be real quick, I promise. The Jonathan Hickman's new run on the X-Men and his new spin on it all is really cool, and it has a direct tie into Nightcrawler too, and his belief in God and stuff like that. And while you were thinking about that, Dr. Scott, I thought about Mr. Terrific and Nightcrawler because you guys had that episode. Nightcrawler, this hardcore, God-loving, God-fearing, like religious, super religious Catholic dude. Yo, remember when he used to have a thing with this Wiccan witch? I was like, wait, those two had a real deep love there. Anyway, that's my thing. I got nothing to say.
Okay, great.
It's kind of weird. They should touch on that because she was super crazy magic, and he's always had this crazy religious faith.
That's true. There's another element that absolutely can be touched on.
Yeah.
So this next segment that I said that we've come up with, or that I've come up with for Oz, is kind of something that I've been thinking about for a while. Now, somebody has asked me why we don't kind of touch on, more than briefly, what's going on in the kind of the real world, with the pandemic or the different tragic events going on, especially in the Black community every day. And the reason that I do that specifically is because I want this show to be an outlet to just get away from everything and just escape and just have a conversation and just have fun, loosen up, and not think about everything that's going wrong, and just kind of have a little debate, have a little fun, get your anger out in a way where it's productive. You're thinking, you're using your brain, and you have a good time doing it. So in light of that, I do think that it should be touched on. And I know Oz has a lot of feelings about what goes on,
everything.
A lot of that. And this is also a way to get a couple of his rants out of his system. So I have come up with this new segment called Talks with Oz, where Ozzy Killmonger will get to go on a rant of his choosing and get whatever he's feeling from the real world off his chest.
Fireside. These are like fireside chats.
Pretty much. It could be political. It could have something to do with an artist. It could have, maybe you could talk about that nonsense with Boosie and his kids, or whatever you want to talk about. It's your world, Oz. So we're going to start a new segment. I don't know if it's going to be weekly or maybe bi-weekly, but we're going to give you an opportunity, Oz, to kind of talk about that. And listeners, if you guys have any topics that you want Oz to dive into, and you want him to go on a rant about, and you're pissed off about, and you want him to just go off on, email us, needformoreversdc@godefylife.com. So,
Regular Scott, you know what? I'm kind of proud of you, man. That's kind of nice.
So, Oz, I'm going to put you on the spot. You have to come up with this on the fly. Rants aren't usually an issue for you, so this should be pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and do a shots fired for that one. And,
that was definitely shots fired.
Yeah.
Dude.
So, first edition of Talks with Oz. Oz, take it away.
All right, Talks with Oz. But all right, you know what? I'm gonna touch on something and you know what, man, Regular Scott, we always have our banter, and sometimes I get really pissed, and I stay pissed for like a week or so. But for the most part, man, you always, like, as you've always done in my life, like, make me think, make me laugh. It's always good, and I think you're right. Like, this show was meant to be a form of escape, to get away. And also, I'm going to be a little selfish, and a way for me just to blab off all my comic book nerdism that's stuck in my head, But sometimes I think the real world blends over, unfortunately, and mixes in like a little bit of like kind of oil and water, whether you have it like it or not, into what we love, Art imitates life, and life imitates art. It's the same thing. My quick rant, and when I say quick, we'll figure out hour 3. It's just this. I was literally talking to my wife today, man. She was like, she always does her news in the morning, when she's not working and stuff, like the weekends. And there's this cat who black delivered a package to this secluded gated community. They're all over the universe. It's in Oklahoma, but they're all over. There's plenty in Virginia, I can promise you. And 18 families live in that gated community, and it is literally a gated community. This cat, black, and him and his other assistant, they deliver this thing, and you have to have a code to get into that gate. You can't even get in. So there's an emergency, and the police are coming in. They're like, oh, my God, the police are coming in. The police can't even get in unless they have the code to get in. If there's an EMT or a fire or anything, then you can be like, oh, what's the code? My house is burning down. It's 74444. This dude delivers it, has to back out, The homeowner says, thank you for the package. Awesome. Backs out. The president, quote unquote, of the homeowners association comes out, blocks this dude in his truck, his semi-truck from leaving, and says, what are you doing here? And the guy's like, none of your business, because this confidentiality stuff. He doesn't need to tell a stranger why he's leaving this area. Citizens. We're all citizens. This is our right. We're all working people, working class people, So he goes, none of your business. He goes, well, I'm going to stay right here. Calls the police. I don't believe he said I'm calling the police. It's always that trick, So the guy's like, cool, well, I'm going to record this. So he records the whole time. And this dude, the dude is white, he's just like, I'm not going to let you go. And the guy could have been like, yo, I'm in a semi-truck. I'm going to go through this person's yard to get around you. But he just stays calm. And what you don't know is this dude had lost 2 family members in the last 2 months or so. So he's stressed out, dude. And this dude looks like Biz Markie with a beard. He's huge. But he's like, I'm not going to unbuckle my car seat. I'm not going to get out of my car. This is what's going on. The guy, again, these guys, the homeowners association says, what are you doing here? Who gave you the code? Why are you here? And he's like, it's none of your business, man. Let me go through. 30 minutes passed. Nothing happened. They won't let him go through. Eventually, the guy who got the package goes, eventually, because he's like, whoa, wait, what is going on? He was like, yo, man, he delivered to my house. Can you let this dude go through? He called the delivery guy, apologized. Police were told, don't come here. But the point of this whole thing is, back in the day in the 1800s, 1700s, 1800s too, black people had to have, in the South, had to have these things called the Freedom Papers, where if you were traveling, you had to produce a paper. Anybody could go, what are you doing traveling? And they'd have to produce a paper and be like, I'm just getting milk. Okay, cool. Show me your milk list and show me who sent you. It ain't that time anymore, dude. That is an act of crazy privilege to stop a person who is working their job just to harass them. That's crazy. We can do better than that, man. I don't want anybody doxing people, dude, about that. But I do want people to be aware that, man, part of being an American citizen is being a citizen. You got the right to the pursuit of happiness. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you're not hurting anybody. This cat was just trying to deal with and just do his job, and he was stopped from doing his job by someone who had nothing better to do. And I'm just saying, we can all do better, man. We are not going to get through any of this, a pandemic, the economy, anything, by thinking that we're all in it by ourselves or that we have some right to do something else. We have the right to love and protect each other. That's the only way we're going to get through any of this stuff. If you have another idea, I promise you, it's never worked. If you don't believe me, try the Nazis, try the Confederates. It don't work, dude. That's what works is when we all get together and do what we're supposed to do. America's this big experiment. Let's make a good experiment. That's my rant.
Yeah, lot of truth in that, and I think that's what's alarming and at the same time disheartening is this is not an isolated incident, and this is not something that is, happening once every year, even once every few months. This is happening every day. Like every day, it seems to be a different story, a different thing come to light. And what adds on top of that is that these issues aren't even coming to light when they happen. It's taken months and leaked videos and things like that for any type of backlash or anybody even realizing that something is wrong. And I'm still shocked and astonished at the number of people who can defend that.
Right.
Like that specific case that you're talking about with the gentleman who got blocked in. I also saw that video, and I saw a lot of people defending the homeowner, saying, well, he should have just told him the code and all that. But he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't have to. He has no. He wouldn't have got in the gate. Like, I think that ends the argument. How did he get in the gate?
Argument.
How did he get in the gate?
Dude, it stops right there. It's like, I can kind of get it if you're Grubhub and you're in like a little Nissan or something. This dude is in a semi truck.
All right.
And then I'm not gonna play these games, but I gotta say it. Little man comes out and just tries to pull rank, and I'm like, no, man, I'm sorry if you didn't have your Wheaties or you got mad or your wife had got you upset. Who cares? You cannot do that, dude, to that person. And if Biz Marquis, if that cat would have got out of that truck, it'd have been game over for him.
Oh, he just said he assaulted him.
Man, he would have got out of the truck. Like, he would have literally walked out the truck, and the guy was, oh my God, he hit me. So it's just and just another thing that should be a big shout out is the class and the dignity that guy portrayed. The truck driver, the delivery dude, everything he called that. At one point he said, wannabe street detectives. You know,
and also shout out to the guy who he delivered the package to, because he didn't have to come out and say anything.
Yo, because like I said, there's me and my wife were doing the math. That gate holds 18 families. Okay, 2 family members we know, 2 family units are assholes because they came to block that dude in.
Yeah, and one of those guys came up and started questioning him too.
Yeah, and just, all you had to do was say, no, you don't know, no, freedom papers don't exist anymore. He didn't have to do anything. So that dude, the homeowner, people are like, oh, why didn't you just do it in the beginning? Who cares? He had the class and the dignity to apologize to that guy, you know? So out of 18 units, we got 1 family that we know of that's like, cool. You know?
Yeah.
Can you imagine during this coronavirus where they're like, you can't go out? All these things are, oh, here's the code. Thank you for my pizza. And they're like, what are you doing here? You know?
Come on, man. Like, it's not even logical. Like, people ain't got nothing better to do. I don't have time for rent-a-cops anyway.
Dude, I know. Dude, they ain't even paid to do that. I'm like, yo, man. I get you. You watch Steven Seagal and you want to just get your groove on, but this dude, like, again,
that dude watch Paul Blart's Mall Cop. That's what he watched.
Son, at any point, there's a fire or there's something going on, like an alien lands in that gated community.
What?
No, seriously, like a UFO lands, and this is Independent Days. It starts in that gated community. No one can get in there unless they got the code.
I mean, you're right.
You know what I mean? Unless you have a helicopter or some kind of aerial vehicle,
yeah, you're right.
Ain't nobody getting. So there's an alien invasion in that neighborhood. Unless we got planes, ain't no car coming in there. Okay.
Yeah, it's not even logical, but yeah, no, you know what? This was a good segment. With I have, this might be weekly, it might be bi-weekly, but we will be having more talks with Oz. This was good. But on a serious note, before we move on, I do think we need to touch on it. I think people, just kind of want to hear our takes on it, and I know they enjoyed some of your political talk as well. So this is a good opportunity to get all that out. And I thought that, and that's everything you said is right on point. That's something that needs to be touched on. It's it's to the point now where, like I said, it's every day, and it's you just can't ignore it. So yeah, we had to touch on that. Now let's get back to our normal shenanigans here on Take a Knee.
Yes, please. I need.
Well, I was gonna say, actually, I think we're gonna take a break. Way to bring the mood down, Oz. We're just gonna take a break.
I'll tell you, we're gonna put this probably at the end of the show.
You know what? We're gonna take a break. We're gonna reboot. I don't know, man. Way to go. Way to bring the morale to the show. We'll be right back.
Send in the clowns.
Tears of a clown. We'll be right back.
This is Defy Life.
Welcome to the Defy Life podcast. Join JR, Thomas, and Al as they take on topics in sports, politics, current events, family, and more. Insightful, hilarious, always unique. New episode every Wednesday. Powered by the Defy Life Podcast Network. Listen at DefyLifePods.com and everywhere else your favorite podcasts are available. If you're not rocking with Defy Life, what's your life about?
And we are back. Make sure you are checking out the Defy Life podcast with Al, Thomas Stevens, J.R. Glimpf, the Kingpin, as we like to call him here. We just actually had a meeting with the Kingpin, and him and Thomas Stevens, they bullied us, and they kind of read us our rights and told us we got to get better, we got to tighten up, or we're about to get kicked off the network. This is our last show.
Dude, that's a whole lot of drama just for this.
No, I'm just playing.
Dude.
Come on, man. I'm just having a little fun. Ha ha.
Oh, you're trying to lighten the mood since I brought everybody down. Got it. Got it.
But no, definitely check those guys out. The Flagship, they do a great job. If you like trivia, they've always got trivia at the end of the show, always answer a listener question, and they go deep into a lot of topics. So great listen. Last week they were actually talking about, having that conversation with a sexually active kid.
Yeah.
Oz, your kid is not quite at that age, but he'll be there very soon. Are you ready for that conversation?
I can tell you right now, I do not want to talk about it. And the reason I don't want to talk about it is because this dude, he's awesome. He's of course, every parent, unless you're a lunatic, thinks their kid is awesome. But he's really cool and smart and very good at negotiating. Really good, he can be a jerk sometimes, but that's like kids. But he's talking to people. I will just say, he's a funny cat, man. It's scary because I gotta have a conversation with him about stuff, and as a parent, you go, I need to let this guy know because he needs to be aware of everything. But then you're also, as a parent, you're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna open up the floodgates. He's like, oh, is that how it all works?
Hey, look, it's coming. You only got about 2 years.
And I will tell you like this, and this is from common sense to parenting to just watching other parents and just talking to my parents. Every conversation you do not have with your kid is a missed opportunity because that kid is going to have that conversation somehow, whether it be from YouTube, from friends, from someone else. So you just need to talk to your kid about it all and let him be like, what the? Freak your kid out. I'm all about freaking them out because if you don't, they're going to be on some crazy stuff and be like, John Claude Van Damme showed me how to have sex. I was like, well, wait, no, that's not the right way. All right. You need to let Denzel Washington show you how to have sex the proper way. So anyway. So.
News tidbits. Actually, let's do One's Gotta Go before we get into the news. No, actually, I'm going to save our One's Gotta Go because it actually fits into a news tidbit at the end. So I'm going to save it. I changed my mind. Let's start with a news tidbit you might like. A Captain Pike and Spock Star Trek Discovery spinoff is being rumored to be in development. Are you excited about that?
Let me explain something to you. It is not rumored. It is in development, as they say, and it's supposed to be. I'm excited. Sorry to answer your question. I know I was rude. Yes, I'm excited about it.
That's all you had to say.
It's got
all you had to
Pike.
say.
It's got Pike, Rebecca as number one, our young Spock in it, and they're saying, by the way, it's episodical. So it's like we're getting away from like this. So Discovery and Picard, they kind of have episodes. They kind of had a wraparound episode, but it was really the long game. This is getting back to the nitty gritty of Deep Space Nine, like Janeway, back to like Picard, where you wrap everything up in an episode and you get to get these characters get developed with them. Man, it's cool. It's cool.
You sound really giddy.
Well, I am giddy because let me tell you, man, they could have did some. They could have chose very unwisely when they picked Pike. But they got, I'm disrespecting by not saying his name, but they got the dude who was from Hell on Wheels, and he's so good. He's so good. I feel like you're gonna really get to know Spock pre-Kirk, and I think it's gonna take. I'm hoping it's gonna take away this legacy of the Picard and the Kirk and make it go. It's about the ship, All right. So.
I won't be checking it out. Next bit of news tidbits.
Well, when it happens, expect that to be my final blow a lot. Okay.
I'm sure it'll be your new weekly. Just checked out Titans. Just checked out Young Justice.
It'll be like, so what made you cry lately? I was watching Commander Pike. Or how do you get motivated before you do a job?
Shout out to Nerds with Friends. You made Uncle Oz bringing up Uncle Oz crying during a nerdy confession. Shout out to those guys.
They're so good. They're so good and smart about that. Because what a great topic for nerds, man. That gets it back to the email stuff, dude. It's cool.
All right.
I love it. It's good, man.
You're at about a 15. We need you at about a 7.
Okay. Well,
that's what happens when you start talking about Star Trek, huh?
Oh man, dude. Seriously, I was like, he actually brought this up.
Hey, look, the only reason I brought it up was for you, because I certainly don't care.
You dude. Hey, Brother Scott, they might be doing a new start. Wait, shut up, stop talking. I get it.
The only Star Trek I liked was the Chris Pine one, and apparently that's terrible. So what do I know about Star Trek?
Well, that won't happen anymore because of poor Chekhov. So.
Well, but like the first, was the first one really that bad? Like I thought the first one was pretty good. Like I like Chris Pine as
I know, but the story was so.
And I thought Spock was pretty well cast. Like
No. The cast, the casting is still. That's why they made 3 of them. The casting is good and solid, but the storyline for the first one was just stupid. Because here's my thing. Why everything's my thing lately? But dude, why'd you need to do a stupid reboot? Everybody's a reboot. Why? You should just go. We're doing a Star Trek movie. Here are these guys as your beloved people. Watch the adventure. They made this crazy thing where like Vulcans destroy. It was really dumb.
What did you think of Chris Pine?
Chris Pine and your boy Spock were great. But he's good in anything. He can pull that off,
Because I really like he honestly is what kind of drew me into the movie when I first I think I saw him on TV at first, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I like this guy.
He embodied what the essence of Kirk was and is, But I just don't think you needed to reboot because there's a thing in the Star Trek universe called the Mirrorverse, and if people were so desperate to bring Star Trek out, everybody knows who Star Trek is. Do a Star Trek Mirrorverse movie, and boom, you'd blow minds. But yeah, it was so dumb.
All right, well. Shout out to your Trekkies. That was a conversation for the Trekkies right there.
Shout out to the Trekkies and the Bleckies.
Yeah, those two.
Wait, and by the way, it's literally 2.
No, I'm sure it's got to be more than 2. It's got to be more than 2. So as we all know, the MCU, Deadpool is going to be integrated into the MCU and kind of having a soft reboot. Well, apparently the rumor is he is going to be the only one that remembers anything about stuff that happened pre-reboot. So his movie is going to be him looking for Cable and I believe Domino to find them and figure out what's going on and why things are rebooted. That is a very breaking fourth wall, but a very much Deadpool story. Oz, do you have faith in it? And do the previous 2 entries, which have both been pretty good, and some might argue both have been great, does that give you faith that they are at least going to put out a good movie with this third one?
I feel like I don't know this dude, but I feel like for what he has shown the public, and he's Canadian, so I give him a little bit more props for that. I think Ryan Reynolds legit cares about what he does, or will acknowledge when he screws up. Like the sewn mouth Deadpool, Green Lantern, he destroyed both of them. So I feel like he will give ownership to that Deadpool and stay true to it. When you started talking, I was thinking of sort of like Pariah from DC, the only person that really remembered what the original universe was like, and Harbinger too. But we'll see what that means. But then I'm always confused. I'm like, if he's the only one that remembers, Cable and Domino won't remember anything either.
No, they won't remember. That's the thing. When he finds them, they won't remember.
They won't remember.
They won't remember, but he's going to be going on a mission trying to find them, thinking that they will. Right.
So I'm saying, it's like, man.
But I'm sure Cable, I'm sure with Cable, you can fix that very easily. You can do anything you want with Cable.
No, but I guess to wrap this little thing up is just that it's cool because it's easy because you can literally make Deadpool be as crazy as he wants to be, but he's not crazy. He just remembers. But to everybody else in that movie universe, he's going to seem crazy as hell.
You know what, Oz? That's actually a very good way of putting it, and it would explain why he acts a certain way to these other characters in the MCU. That would actually explain a lot.
And Regular Scott, he can do his Ryan Reynolds thing and be sarcastic and whatever, and add to what he normally does. But yeah, so I feel like that kind of can fit.
All his little quips would work, and none of the characters would get it, but it would always be a wink to all the people in the audience, and it would make sense why he's making these quips. That's great.
It's just an easy thing. I think that's an easy fix for it. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan he plays John Constantine on Legends of Tomorrow, and in the John Constantine short-lived television series. He wants
and animated too.
And animated. He wants to portray the live-action Constantine in the Justice League Dark series coming to HBO Plus. We've probably reported on that, but it came up again, and I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that and ask you, have you seen the Justice League Apocalypse War animated movie?
As you pointed out, I have lied to our listeners, but I have lied to our listeners for a very good reason. I'm not buying that movie quite yet, and it comes out streaming streaming and for rent by the time this airs. Well, no, it won't.
No, it
won't. So now I'm in a time vortex. Basically, Tuesday it comes out streaming or for rent, and I'm going to have to wait for that on Tuesday, and then I will watch it. But I've been hearing good things about it. So
you can buy it now for $20.
What I just said, I'm not buying it now. Hey yo, I can buy Justice League Dark and Justice League Dark Apocalypse for $25.
Well, why would you buy Justice League Dark when you could just watch that on the DC universe?
Thank you. So why can't I just wait?
But Justice League Dark War isn't going to be on the DC universe.
Oh, eventually it will, because like I heard a rumor that HBO Max would eventually just consume all of DC Universe stuff.
Well, that's a rumor. We're not discussing that. Maybe we'll save that for next week.
Well, okay, that's fine. But I'll tell you like this, man. Hey, yo, kudos to Constantine. Yo, he owns it. Keanu, you did a great job of introducing the character. But yo, your boy has owned it, and it's good. And I'm excited.
Okay, all right.
He should do it. Hey, listeners, give me another person who could take the role up.
And speaking of John Constantine, there is another weirdo in a trench coat.
When we get to it, I'm going to lay it all out for you, dude.
You ain't got to lay nothing out. He's a weirdo in a trench coat who has sex with sharks.
Look, dude, so he's a weirdo to you, but he literally is like...
He has sex with sharks.
Dude, he's outwitted the devil. Can you say you've done either one of those things?
He has sex with sharks.
I'm not going to... Hey, who am I to judge?
Okay, that's fair. Look, I'm not judging him, but that doesn't make him less of a weirdo.
No. You like I said, who am I to judge you?
I'm
man.
not. Listen, to each its own.
Yeah,
you can have sex with whoever or whatever you want.
And by the way, and let's get it down to the nitty-gritty. Y'all, to a lot of our listeners out there, y'all have had sex with sharks too. Whether it be whether it be the sea creature or just a land dwelling creature that's a shark, and y'all had sex with rats too. So you know, so I'm just saying,
everybody ain't had sex with a rat.
I'm just saying,
everybody ain't done that.
And there are sharks, rats, snakes.
Listen. Everybody got a bad one under their notch, but everybody ain't got no rat. Everybody ain't got no rat though.
Hey man, I'm talking some sharks, snakes, and rats.
Come on, man.
We know.
All right, moving on.
Okay.
So here's something I do kind of want to get your opinion on. Robert Pattinson has come out and said that he doesn't think he needs to work out for the Batman role.
I know.
And so before we get to you, I do kind of want to touch on this. I think he's completely wrong because... And it's not because I think all actors need to be ripped and jacked for the role.
Right.
But I think Bruce Wayne, who is the epitome of human peak level fitness and strength, and he is the peak. So I think Bruce Wayne, yes, he needs to be what Ben Affleck was. Like, to me, that's what Bruce Wayne is. He is a ripped up big dude. He's don't have no. There's no dad bod on Bruce Wayne.
Brother Scott, what you said is in a nutshell, and it also goes back to this. Let's take it back to acting, if you want to. If you are all real actors who we really love, they research their character through and through. If you research Bruce Wayne, as you said, is the peak of what we can be, and if you wanted to say, I don't want to do it, I want to do a different thing. Think of all your, don't think of your Bill Gates. Think of your Elon Musk. Elon Musk he works out. All these I mean, man, come on, man. I get it, but I'm also going to tell you guys this. I will promise you, that's Robert just messing with people's heads.
Oh, probably, but I
promise
do.
You that dude is just messing with people's heads just to start some junk up.
Oh, that might be true, but I just wanted to point out that I think at the core of Bruce Wayne, and because I don't think you don't have to be ripped to be an actor in Hollywood. Like, you don't have to be cut up or big dude. It'd be nice to be in shape, but you can be however you are if you have the chops. If that's what they're looking for.
Look at Jack Black.
Come on, you know what I'm saying? But Bruce Wayne needs to be all that and some.
If you in your mind, I'm talking to Robert. I hope you're just messing with us because I get it. Because I think you're actually really smart about stuff. But if you are at all serious, Robert, me and you, because we're bros. I want to just tell you this.
Robert doesn't like you.
Oh man, he's my bro, dude. Man, he actually just added me on Twitter, dude. You can check it right now.
He's one of your 15 followers.
He's one of my 14. You dropped me. So,
got it.
So Robert, let me talk to you. If you think you're trying to do this weird, I got into my head what acting is, so I flipped the script and I'm making him more of a Bill Gates, like I said, type of character, billionaire, you're way off, sir. You're completely wrong, sir. Okay. And by the way, you would not be a Bill Gates dude in a muscle car like that.
I'm just saying, man. So, all right. So, yeah,
you got a muscle car and you got no muscles. Think about it.
I was just curious your opinion about that because I thought it was a bit.
He's messed with everybody's heads.
As an actor, I agree with him, but when the role you're playing calls you to be that and some, it's very weird. So maybe you are right about him just kind of drumming up some attention.
Dude, it is because of whether it be COVID or not. I think he's just trying to get some attention going on. You know, get the buzz happening.
Because now people are going to be like, "Well, I wonder if he's going to have a shirtless scene in the Batman." You know what I mean?
Whatever happens, you're like, "I got to see this dude, man. I got to see what this dude looks like. This is crazy." You know.
And let's wrap with this. Batwoman and Superman. Well, let me rephrase. The CW's Batwoman will have a crossover with the Superman Lois TV show, which has already been scheduled for the 2021 release.
Right.
So the crossover next season will be on a smaller scale. It will only be 2 episodes. It will be a Batwoman Superman crossover. Very similar to a Batwoman, or very similar to Batman versus Superman. This will be Batwoman versus Superman, and it will have a whole bunch of characters showing up on those 2 shows. Are you going to check out this crossover? And do you have any faith that they could do a Batwoman Superman storyline?
I'm going to put this into how I've been viewing Batwoman, the TV show. I watched the first episode and I haven't watched anything since.
Yep, and I won't be watching either because I haven't watched anything in the Arrowverse since Arrow left.
And our listeners and whoever chime in, give me some reasons why I should, but I'm going to tell you like this, dude. Man, I kind of just, like even Birds of Prey got me a little pissed, the TV series. I hate any excuse where you have Batman, like, leaving Gotham or whatever. I'm like, no, don't do that just to introduce this person. You could easily introduced her as Batwoman, but still being an ally of Batman.
To be fair, before this happened, this was on a different Earth, so it was okay at that point. But now it's all combined. It's like,
I don't like it. It's just,
Well, anyway, like I said, if there is a CW show you think we should give a chance, if you think we need to get back into the Flash, which I tried to. Didn't like the whole Mirrorverse storyline with Iris. Wasn't a fan. But if I am intrigued at the prospect of Luke Fox becoming Batwing, because I'm of the proponent that use all the Bat family characters except Batman, because I think there's a lot of characters that can be used and could fill a role in the Arrowverse. But that's another conversation for later. That's all I got for the news tidbits, Oz. Before we get into Trenchcoats and Captain Planet, I had a list that I brought up to you that I
you did.
Wanted to touch on again. JVD of the Villains Demand put up a poll asking who was the best archer. And he had Green Arrow, Hawkeye, and Storm Shadow. And coincidence, I had also been looking at Swordsman. And I pulled up a list of the greatest swordsmen according to ranker.com. And I thought that the top 10 was very interesting. So I'm going to go over the top 10. And Oz, I want you to chime in where you feel appropriate. And remember that we had a conversation yesterday, so don't be changing your answer from yesterday.
That's fine.
All right. Number 1. Aragon, the greatest swordsman. This is non-comic book, by the way. The greatest swordsman in all the land. Number 2, Achilles. Number 3, Maximus, Decimus, Meridius from Gladiator.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, Conan the Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, Sandor Clegane the Hound. Number 6, The Samurai. Number 7, Connor McLeod. Number 8, this one's going to cause a little controversy, Brienne of Tarth. Number 9, Sir Lancelot.
Okay.
Number 10, Inigo Montoya.
Of course. Do you know who that is?
I can read it real quick, but The Princess Bride. No, I didn't know who that was. But just off the name, no clue.
I am Inigo Montoya.
Andre the Giant. Yeah, off the name though, no.
No. That's not Andre the Giant. That's the dude from Criminal Minds. He's a theater actor, but his famous line is, "I am the deal with Torres."
Andre the Giant's in the movie though, right?
Oh yeah. Andre is in the movie.
Yeah, that's why I knew about the movie because of Andre the Giant.
That's intriguing, dude. That's so terrible.
Number 11. Actually, I'll go top 20. Number 11.
Well, this do top 10 because I want to because it's worth breaking those down though.
Well, because I want to, because 11 and 12 I think are very important.
Okay, go, man. This is I'm not getting mad, but this is crazy.
11 is Zorro.
Yeah.
And 12 is Jaime Lannister.
But so, dude, okay, here are some things right here. And I am so biased. I am biased because I love The Highlander. The Highlander movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. Of all time. Director's cut, whatever. I'm saying it. So look, we just gotta be logical about this, okay?
You just gotta be logical.
No, it is strictly logical. I love how people are, oh my God, Russell Crowe. Yes, I am Maximus. Yeah, I get you, General.
Oh,
man, look. And Brad Pitt too. Oh God, he's like, he can put a sword through someone's whole body. It's so sexy. No, man, I'm gonna go through something. We give Conan props because he is literally from being a child to his adult life to being King Conan. He's done nothing but fought and fought and cried and bought with his sword. I will promise you that there is no way he does not know how to kill a man, okay, or a person, or a thing. I'm putting him up there in the top 5ers of things, okay? Okay.
So let me ask you this then. Let me ask you because I feel like you're about to really go in, and I want to get to some other topics too. So
it's cool.
All right. So let me ask you this: what would be your top 5?
My top 5 is easy. Okay. Conan, boom, number 5, right? You got to. It has literally been said, in all the land that like I respect Jaime's sword fighting because people were scared of him. You know, if people doubted, remember that classic scene when Jaime is captured by Robb and he's like, boy, let's just solve this like men and do a sword fight. And in front of Robb and all his boys, and Robb was like, "Are you crazy?" No.
Hey, Robb was like, "Nah, I ain't fighting you. What you
do?" Dude, no, listen to me. And I want to really make sure the landscape is like open for people to understand this. In that time, it would have been insulting for a person to be like, "Oh my God, he just insulted the king. Go, king, go." Even Robb and his boys, his knights were like, "Don't do that." They knew.
Hey, look, Mom's was like, "Nah, we ain't doing that either."
Dude, Robb was like, "Are you?" He literally said, "Are you insane? I know you will kill me." Okay.
There's a reason when he got captured, they cut off his hand almost immediately.
Dude, they cut off his hand to hurt his feelings as a big insult, and to even get it back to you, when he started training with his other hand, people were scared of him then too. This dude
learned how to fight with his left hand. It was proficient enough to go into battle in 2 months.
And like literally 2 months, he was like, "I can't even lift the sword." Afterwards, so Jaime, they were like, yeah, man, don't. He used to sword fight people just for play.
All right, who you got in number 3?
Okay, number 3. Now, number 3, dude. You cannot look. Zorro is another cat.
Is that your number 3?
Yeah, he is because like so when Zorro was training, you can he's a rich boy, whatever. I get you. Zorro was the template for how Bruce. I know we said comic books on, but how Batman figured out how to fight and how to do stuff. There's a certain movement and dance movement that you learn how to fight with. This dude mastered that, and he would play with you. He's not going to kill you. He just put a zeal in you, and he would put a zeal in you anywhere he wanted to. There's one story where this dude took off his shirt, and he had literally every size Z on his body. From Zorro Discipline, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to torture you because you're a bad person. That's art, dude. This guy is like, so he's up there, okay? Number 2.
Oh, and by the way, everyone, as far as Conan is concerned, yes, we know that he has been
some Marvel
yes,
stuff.
We get it.
We get it, okay? But we're
number
going
2.
with the savagery.
Number 2.
My number 2 in all this, man, I do like Achilles. First, I respect him. He's probably like a 6. I'm going to have to go with this again. My number 2 is going to be like Duncan MacLeod. And my number 2 and number 1 are Duncan MacLeod and Connor MacLeod.
Yo, you are nuts. That is unfathomable that you don't have Achilles on there.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you this. Okay, look, check this out. I love it, and you can go with the fable Achilles or the storyline Achilles, where he only had one weakness, which is like the small part of his ankle, right? Because his mother didn't dip him. The story goes, his mother dipped him in the river. It's not the River Styx. It might be the River Styx, but his mother dipped him in the river, and anybody who's dipped in this river, you're invulnerable. Nothing can pierce your skin. She dipped him, but the only part that wasn't dipped was like his foot, basically his ankle to his foot.
His Achilles.
And so, yeah, they literally his Achilles heel. And so, like, I get it, man. He's a proficient fighter and all this stuff, but I want to break this down to you. And again, all our lovely listeners, hit me up because I'm not that smart, man. I need help because Regular Sky reminds me all the time I'm not that smart.
It's true.
You're dealing with these 2 immortals. Instant healing ability. Okay? You can chop off their head. That's the only way to kill them. But not just that. They have been fighting for centuries. And it's every type of sword fighting. So, like, I can give you like the greatest unarmed combat people, greatest gunfighter. But the greatest sword fighters, you got to give it to these immortals who literally live and die by the sword for centuries.
So
why is Wolverine the greatest? Why is Wolverine the greatest unarmed, like unarmed, close arm combatant? Because he's been doing it for so long.
Well, that's part of it, but the other part of it is because he's made of adamantium.
His healing factor and his skill set, dude. It's a skill set.
That's part of it too, but him being a pure ball of adamantium makes a huge difference in being one of the greatest fighters ever. Who wants to fight adamantium?
So check it out. Who would want to fight an immortal that the only way you can do is chop their head off? But they heal from everything else, though. And they're still, and they've learned every single, like these cats have traveled the world.
But they're just human, though, right? Like they're just, so they have powers? They are not like they can, like, I'm going, wind, fire, earth. But wait, okay, so what can they do? What can they do? Briefly.
Briefly, the only powers immortals have is that, not that they can't die unless you chop their head off, but they're slightly more, like, elevated. Consider them on a kind of Bruce Wayne ability.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. Because Achilles is faster and stronger than normal people. Like, he would be faster and stronger than a Bruce Wayne level human.
It says who?
Him being dipped in that made him...
It
made him invulnerable, but it also made him stronger and faster.
From Greek mythology, it just made him invulnerable. It just made... So that people were throwing spears at him, and his natural skill set, he can build his body up, it's fine. But people throwing spears, it would do nothing to pierce his flesh.
So you're saying that him being able to go through an entire army by himself has nothing to do with his ability.
I will give you this. I want to give you this. So the way that you fight an immortal is that eventually they get tired. Achilles will get tired too, dude. So I want to bring people should think about Achilles like if people ever read Rising Stars. There's one dude who like his power was invulnerability, like nothing could hurt him. But the side effect of that was he couldn't taste anything, and so he just kept eating food, trying to feel something, nothing. He just kept getting fat. So he's the most invulnerable person who's fat.
So let me ask you this, because if the McLeods got into a fight with Achilles, and neither of them know the other's weakness,
right?
Achilles would behead them just because he would, before they would ever get to his Achilles.
Right, but do you think that like there's clashes and this guy and like Connor or Duncan's like nothing is working, nothing is hitting this dude.
Let's hit him in his Achilles heel?
No, but don't you think they eventually he'd be like, I have to figure something out. As Achilles is going, I'm cutting this guy and he's still getting up.
So let me chop his head off and see if he gets up from that. I mean, he's going to get to that before they get to his Achilles.
But so again, when we talk about, I want to stick to the subject. Like you remind me.
I still think he's a better sword fighter.
Achilles can be an invulnerable, but he's not a sword fighter. He's just an invulnerable dude. He's not a better sword fighter. He's just invulnerable. I'm talking about dudes who are born and bred by the sword. I'm talking about Ramirez looking at Connor saying, "We are brothers because we live and die by the sword." Okay.
All right. Well, we'll table that.
Now, if Achilles fights Connor or Duncan in a church, yeah, he'll win.
It's no question he would win because, and look, even if you are right, I do not see them figuring out where to hit him before he beheads them.
Oh, well, here, I'm gonna give it to you like this. I'm going to even help your argument out. If Achilles if he's invulnerable, I feel like this dude would have some kind of like his boot would have some reinforcement in it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, right, yeah, absolutely.
To make him truly invulnerable. Like I'm like if I was Achilles, I'd be like, can I get some adamantium in just one size 11?
Right, because Achilles is going to go ask for some
Because check it. If I do that, I'm truly invulnerable. Except for, like, you could probably drown me. That's it. But I'm talking about sword fighting skill. That's my ranking, dude. I don't... Like, Achilles, I love what Brad Pitt did with that dude. But he also was awesome with a spear.
And then you just completely forewent Aragon.
No, so look. So, you know what? Achilles can actually be dropped from number 6, and I'll give Aragon. But dude, check it. Aragon, for whatever you want to say, has been fighting since the age of 12 to 33, right? Would you say that?
Yeah, we can say that. I don't know because I only know about Aragon from the movies. I don't know. Let's just
say for giggles that he's been raised as a ranger by the ways of the Rangers from the age of 6 until 40.
Come on, man. What is he, a Spartan?
I'm trying to help you out.
You're not trying to help me out.
From the age of 6 until he's 40 when he gets the kingship.
He's not King Leonidas.
He's a king at the end of all this.
He's a king, but he's not King Leonidas. He didn't get thrown into the wilderness at 6 and had to go fight a tiger.
Well, so I'm just saying, say that he was in special ranger training.
All right.
And so from 6 to 40 when he stops fighting, because he's a king at age 40 maybe, okay, 42. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt and go like, you've been fighting for 34 years of just hard fighting, everything. Dragons, magic, everything. Cool. I get it. You're dealing with these immortals who are 400 and 500 years old who have been fighting for that long with their sword. You can be the best sniper in the world, by a one-trick pony. But if you have 132 kills on your belt, you know some tricks. So I'm just saying that's why I always give it to those guys.
Aragon's a bad example anyway because he got beat in the sword fight in the first movie.
Yeah, but guess what? He got to fall down 6 times, get up 7 times.
Yeah, but you can't be the greatest sword fighter and you get beat in a sword fight in the first movie of a trilogy.
Well, check this out. The greatest sword fighter that we had with our boys, the Starks, with our family, the Starks, got taken out because he only had a wooden sword.
But he wasn't better than Ned. You think he was better than Ned?
Oh, dude, I feel like he.
You think he was better than Ned?
Well, regular Scott, put it to you this way: was Ned really that great, or did he just build up that reputation because he lied about killing that dude?
Well, okay, that's fair. He wasn't as great as he was put. But I don't take anything away from him.
Oh no, trust me, that dude could fight. But I still think that people were scared of him because he built up that rep.
No, I agree with that 100%. He wasn't as good as Arthur Dane in sword fighting, but I think
Absolutely.
The fact that he was able to even hang that long with him, I think that counts.
See, I always do this, man. I see that point. Pardon me.
Especially with Jamie too at the end. Like I think that. Because they had been building up, like you had pointed out, they had been building up Jamie in this fear factor.
Oh, yeah.
And then he went toe-to-toe with Jamie, and it looked like he was about to get the best of him until they intervened. So, yeah, I think Ned was better than the wooden sword.
I'll give you that props. But I also say this, man. Ned was like, he stood that long with that cat because that cat had to fight other people before he got to Ned.
Oh, I agree. I'm not down that.
And also, man, I'm sorry, dude. Jamie, people can love him. They can hate him. Oh, I'm having sex with my twin sister. We're having kids. Disgusting. I get you. All that stuff is terrible. He's a terrible human being. We get it. But when that dude fights, you go back and look at all the time he fights, dude. He plays with people. And with Ned is awesome. But I still feel like Jamie was just going, okay. You're a Stark. Let's see. Oh my God! If I kill this dude, there are ramifications. But let's just have fun. Because Jamie, at the end of the day, loves to have fun. He was like, "Oh God, this is a challenge. This is great."
Nah, I don't know. Because I would agree with you if he would have even let out like a "What did you do that for?" or anything like that.
Oh yeah. Okay. You remember when he fought? I forget the guy's name. He's supposed to be like this badass magic dude, but he winds up killing Jamie. They're fighting a little time, and the guy goes, "I killed you," but they're fighting a little time. But when Jamie's like, "Yo, you're wasting my time," he's like, he goes to town on him, dude.
Well, I don't know, but
okay.
Yeah, so that's let us know where you think the sword fighters rank.
Yeah, but do you see like their ranking was just like based off of popularity and craziness?
No, I don't think it was based off of popularity because I don't think the samurai would have been 6 based off.
Well,
of
then
you'll
agree with me it was based off of craziness, though.
I mean, yeah, I think McLeod should have been higher than 7. I agree with you on that.
And Maximus, dude, he's a general.
Yeah, but you just brought up about people learning to fight from a young, like he has been bred and trained to be a fighting warrior and a machine. Like that's how he's been bred.
Well, let me get you this: why does Maximus play in and Leonardus does not?
And who?
Leonardus.
I don't. Listen, I didn't make the rankings, but I like Aragon because Aragon's older than 42, by the way.
Oh, are you sure? At the end of the,
I think he's old. Like I think he's like a couple 100 years old.
What? When he gets no.
I think so, man. Like I think.
Well, here. Well, let me. Since you brought it up, I love it. I'm gonna call everybody's bullshit on this.
Okay.
Legolas doesn't get anything.
Now here's where I was okay with that because Legolas doesn't use a sword. He uses the 2 little mini swords. Those are usually his primary weapons.
Dude, he uses a sword, the 2 daggers,
when does he use a sword?
And the bow and arrow.
When does he use a sword?
When he was surfing on that shield.
He did not use a sword. He was using his two daggers, and he was shooting with the arrow. Now, he might have been the Hobbit, because I didn't see the Hobbit movies. I would take Aragorn over Legolas in a sword fight.
Really? He's an elf, dude.
I'm not taking him in anything else over Legolas, but I think there's a reason Legolas was willing to follow Aragorn too.
Dude, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, now here's the thing about Legolas. I think Legolas is the greatest archer, period, in any form of any media.
Hey, let's do this. What they should do is do greatest archer and not be biased about it, because I would put
Legolas is number one. I am taking Legolas over anyone in any form of media when it comes to archery.
You can put a Twitter poll up on it. I want to throw these out there for you. Legolas, Robin Hood, Yoshin, or what I can't pronounce it right, but not from the Guardians of the Universe, but the true Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy, where he can like whistle and control his arrow properly. The whole race.
You talking about Yondu?
Yeah, Yondu. Hey, the whole race does that.
That's not archery.
That is archery.
No, that's not archery. Being able to control it with your whistle.
They carve wood. Let me help you out here, and let me help you, son. Because I used to just love those Vance, Astral, all those guys. Man, they carve wood that's only unique to their planet and to them, and learn from a young age how to whistle to control the arrows.
That's not archery.
And I'll never forget the classic scene of in Avengers World, where they're like, "This is an Avengers world." They had Hawkeye like leading the charge on that planet with all the archers, and they had all their bows out, and I was like, that was the dopest scene I've ever seen in my life, dude. It was great.
But that's not archery, though. Archery is pulling a bow out and pulling it with the arrow, pulling your arrow out and firing it with the bow.
You're right, with the quiver and everything else, but don't get confused with the movie. Those guys fire bows. They don't just whistle; they fire the arrows, and then they do the whistle.
But that's not archery then. Because you only get one shot with the bow. Every arrow is one person.
That's not true. You can do 3 shots with
but you can shoot an arrow and you can shoot 3 arrows at a time, but your arrow is only going to be, you can't shoot the arrow and it come back to you and then you shoot it again.
True, but
that's archery.
Time out. The way that it worked in the movies is fine, but the way that it worked in the comics was that his whistling would not like make the arrow go like 40,000 different ways, but it would bend the wind to go some ways. I'm with it.
That's not archery then.
That is archery, sir. That is
not being able to control the arrow after you fire it.
Yes,
is not archery.
If you've read the Zen of archery, it is archery because it is about finding it. It is. Just because you can master that. You're still fine. You still have to master it.
So let me ask you this. Okay. If I put a chip into a basketball and I shoot basketball, and after I release it from my hand, I control it and make it go in the hoop. Is that still me shooting, or is that me controlling the ball?
Wait, it is. That's not you at all. That's a computer chip. If I could whistle, if I shoot the ball and it releases from my hand, and I whistle it into the hoop, that is me shooting the ball, or is that me controlling the ball with my whistle? That is an act of you doing both.
No, it's not, because once I release the ball, it doesn't matter how I release it for my jump shot, because if I control it with my whistle, I can make it go in the hoop from wherever it goes.
So you just said 2 things. Release and jump shot. So that is you doing an act of throwing the ball. Whatever you want to say.
I could be facing the other basket and shoot it that way and control it with my whistle, according to you, and make it turn around and go into the basket. That is not a. That's not shooting the ball.
So what about the cats that turn their back to the hoop and shoot blindly and do it?
But nobody shoots at the other basket and then once the ball is in the air, it goes the opposite way because that's not how you shoot.
Right, but what we're not talking about is you and your whistle. You can whistle and you can whistle Dixie, and the ball does nothing. But you have trained to do a certain type of whistle that controls the ball. That's still mastery of the ball.
That is not archery. Archery is catch is release.
Regular Scott, I want to put it on regular. You are correct. You whistling, controlling a basketball has nothing to do with archery. You're right. But when our guys are shooting, using a bow, listen to me, using a bow and an arrow, and they shoot said arrow, and then they still control the arrow with the whistle, that's still archery, dude.
That's not archery.
Well, so then from Dungeons and Dragons, the TV show, did you know the TV show, do you remember the Ranger in that?
I absolutely never watched Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow. That's another reason why I feel like you millennials have missed out on some precious 80s.
I'm not a D&D guy.
It's fine. You didn't have to be. It was one of the best with Tiamat. So with Tiamat and Venture and Dungeon Master, one of the best shows ever. So this animated 80s Saturdays cartoon show that I loved and adored had a ranger, and rangers are classically swordmen and archers. He had an archer. He had a bow. He had a bow, not arrows. He just had a bow, and whenever he would pull his bow back, this flaming line would come and a flaming arrow would appear. He could do 1 or 3 or 7. He could shoot that. He could make it arch, or he could make it follow in an arch. He can make the arrow pierce a person. He can make the arrow light things. But he still had to master that arrow, dude.
So he could make that. So he could shoot that arrow and make it turn a sharp right turn to the right and hit this guy on the right side, even though he shot it forward.
But again, that you're thinking of the movie. The way that the comic book character's arrows worked was that he would whistle and he could make it like deviate, like do a 45.
That's what I just said. So he would shoot the arrow forward and whistle. If that's the key word you need to keep.
Not
hearing.
a super sharp.
He would whistle and make it go right and hit the guy on his right side, even though he shot it forward. You consider that archery?
I do. I do, because you still are shooting. Because I want to.
You don't have to aim.
Let me break it back down to you. It is mastery and technique. Let me just finish. He could pull. If you are a layman and you have his arrows, you're pulling the arrow back. You shoot it. You whistle. Nothing happens. He doesn't. He turns the arrow and controls it because he's mastered those techniques. Archery is technique and mastery. So I give it back to you, dude. He is an archer. He comes from a planet of archers. In that archer TV show.
He's not an archer at all. He's that once the bow, once you control the bow with whistle, your mind, it's not the bow is not. Wherever the bow is going has nothing to do with how you release, or the arrow, I'm sorry. Wherever the arrow is going has nothing to do with how you released it with the bow.
It does have it.
No, it doesn't, because every time you say that you whistle and you control it, once you start whistling and control it, you are mastering a completely different thing than archery. Archery is you having the skill to line up an arrow with the bow and hit a target from wherever you are without controlling it after it leaves the bow. That is archery.
Hold on. That is your personal definition of archery, and I'll give it to you. My personal one is archery is a combination of technique and mastery of technique. So, for where I'm coming from, if you can pull that said special wood and that bow and quiver back, and you can control your arrow through your whistling that you've learned through your race of people, you're an archer. And I'll break it down to you from.
So Professor X is an archer. Professor X is an archer.
Time out.
Is Professor X an archer?
No.
Why isn't he? Because he can pull back and then he can control it with his mind, which he's worked at to master.
You have never seen an example of any telepath.
But that's not the point. If I've seen an example, I'm using what you said. You said to be able to master it after he fires it. So if he does that with his mind, which is the same thing, he's just using his mind instead of whistling, he's an archer.
But no, because those arrows don't work that way. They work through how you shoot it and your whistle. That's how those arrows work. So that planet where that wood comes from is a race of archers. Okay, that's not me. That is canon. You can break it any way you want to. So what I was going to say before you interrupted me, because I feel like you're very passionate about this. It's fine. You can be passionate. It's exciting to see you passionate.
Well, it's very rare that you are just blatantly wrong about comics, and you are blatantly wrong because they're not. It's not archery when you control it with something other than your bow.
But wait, hold on. If he just said, "Okay, I'm whistling," and the arrow picks up and fires away, maybe I give you that, but it never has worked that way into the comic books. He fires his arrows and he makes the arrows move.
But what's the difference between that and Professor X doing it with his mind?
Because it would never, because I've never seen any arrow that Professor X can control his mind. I've never seen it.
So, wait a minute, really? So you don't think Professor X could control an arrow and make it go where he wants with his mind?
Yeah, here I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why 100% you're wrong on this, and why I don't believe it. You want to know why? Because Professor X has zero to do with telekinesis. Professor X is a telepath. Telepathy is the act of reading people's minds. Telekinesis is the act of controlling objects with your mind. He doesn't do telekinesis. So to your point, Professor X, I will promise you, will never, ever be able to use his mind, just his mind, to control an arrow. Now, he may be able to take a bow and read one of those archers' minds to figure out how to mimic the whistle. Yes, he can do that, but he still has to fire the arrow, sir. So
even when he has his headgear, he doesn't have telekinesis?
Dude, he's never had telekinesis. What works with him is the only way he's ever been able to walk is because he's it wasn't even an act of telekinesis. It was through the Shiar technology that he covered his body. He's never had telekinesis.
Okay, well I'm reading it right here where it says that he has having used it to galvanize latent aspects of his X gene in order to stimulate some dormant properties, seemingly using telekinesis to will a flash drive on Mystique's person into his hand. This is off of Professor X.
What Professor X are you reading?
Where the Professor, now going by the moniker of X, this is Uncanny X-Men. So he does have telekinesis. I just thought I'd throw that out there for you.
I love it. I love how it's always stated he's the world's most powerful telepath. But dude, I respect all that stuff.
I just wanted to make sure you do know that I was correct.
Right. Okay. This dude has never used. The only time he's ever used.
Just wanted to make sure you do.
I know. The only time
well, let me ask you. Now that you know he has telekinetic powers.
No. But so stop.
Well, no, just answer. Now that you know he has telekinetic powers, would he be able to control an arrow after he fires it from a bow? And since we know he can, is that archery?
No, that's not archery.
Why isn't that archery when he has be able to that is a craft, just like being able to whistle is a craft of being able to control it? What is the difference between using your mind and whistling?
Well, because there's no mastery. I'm going to break it down to you like your basketball thing. If you have a chip in your basketball, you can make 100,000 free throw shots every time. That's great. That is science. That is technology. That's awesome. Now, with Professor X's helmet, if you want to use, since you like to use, and he has telekinesis now, he has not learned any art of like archery and controlling the arrow through like originally through the use of the bow and the arrow and the wood. He just is just moving it. It's like saying you're the world's greatest sniper, but you're just like controlling a bullet. There's no art to that. There's no distancing. There's none of that. To me, breaking it back down to archery, it is the art and the mastery of being an archer. It's like saying, hey, I have a crossbow that shoots 30 arrows in 3 seconds, whereas opposed to going, hey, I'm an archer and I can shoot 30 arrows in 3 seconds. That to me is the mastery and the art and the technique of your craft. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
To break it back down, like you said with sword fighters, that's awesome that if you can use a spear, if you can fight. But I'm talking about strictly the sword fighters. I'm talking strictly the archers.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm talking about. I'm talking about the craft of being able to pull an arrow, pull it back and fire, pull another arrow, pull it back and fire. I'm not talking about firing an arrow and then being able to control it with a whistle. I'm talking about like archery is being able to just fire an arrow. I only brought that up to bring up the point that you being able to control something after you release it has nothing to do with your release.
Dude, archery is not just firing an arrow. That's you being a lame person. Just never even. Have you ever like you? I went to a vacation. I fired an arrow. No, there's a whole craft to being an archer and archery, dude. And I would say your comment to that is like the old limited series Hawkeye from Marvel, where the villain says he has Hawkeye in a bad way, and he goes, all you do is shoot arrows? This is nothing. And he goes to try and pull Hawkeye's arrow back, and he can't even pull the arrow back because he's never pulled an arrow before. So
what does that have to do with whistling and being able to control the arrow after it fires from the bow? What does that have to do with that?
Again, it has everything to do with it. I'm just talking strictly from that race of people. I want to get to what they're called and stuff because they spend their lifetime learning to master their whistle, learning to master the art of archery and the whistle. What you're saying, I'm going to say this, and not to be like I'm getting upset because I'm not, but I'm saying what you're saying is totally disregarding this whole planet, this whole entity of people that have built their whole existence around like being one with nature and like their craft of archery. Because they can be like, hey, we make metal, we make swords, we make spears. No, it's archery and passing down what it means to what the craft of the whistling is and controlling the arrow. You can't be disrespectful to that whole planet.
No, I can be disrespectful to anything that's that's make believe and made up. Absolutely. Yeah, I can 100% be disrespectful to it. Totally. Secondly, being able, just because you control it with your mouth, that 100% does not make it archery.
Wait, time out. But you see, but you're cherry picking.
I'm not cherry picking.
You are. You're cherry picking your narrative to make it feel good for you. Who said whistling? I said with that race of people, it is the art and the mastery of the whistle and the art and the mastery of the archery, because they both coincide, brother Scott. You can't just go, well, if I can whistle, I can do this. It's not just that. It is your cadence of your whistle. It is how you pull your bow. And for me, being like an old school archer, into archery and stuff, dude, there's a whole.
How many times did you control the bow or the arrow after you released it?
Probably very. To me, there were very,
How many times were you able to change the direction of it as an archer?
Dude, hold on, time out, dude. You're just being like facetious.
Well, no, I'm just asking.
You're trying to be a clown, dude. So I want to answer. You were trying to clown me, so I want to answer your question in not a clowny way. Okay. So the first part. So let me answer both your questions. The second one was just dumbass. So let me answer your dumbass question. I've never been able to whistle because it's not. That's make believe. That's make believe. But to answer your first question is how many times have I felt like I've been able to control that arrow?
After you released it.
Now listen, after I released it, man, there have been like maybe 1 or 2 times I felt that way, where I felt like I had such a good stance and I had felt that I had really been in my game of to what you said is a point to after I released it to a point where I felt like I was in tune with that arrow and I knew where it was going. But that was such a rare occasion because I'm not a master of the craft. And when we break it back down to these people who are the best archers, I really want to break it down to the really beginning of our conversation about who the best archers are. These are guys that have done this for a long time, that have mastered their craft, man. I can't whistle and control anything. I mean, if I was Professor X, it's awesome if I could tap into someone's mind and easily take it, like how he took the unstable molecules to make their X-Men suits from Reed Richards. That's awesome. But I want to get back down to our conversation about archers. You know, archery, again, my opinion, archery is a craft, and it's a mastery of your craft. It's like I can make beer. Can you make fucking good beer, dude? You know what I'm saying?
So would a Jedi be considered an archer?
Would Archer, the FX TV show, be considered an archer because it says the name Archer? I don't know these questions. I don't know.
Because a Jedi could definitely shoot an arrow and
let
it release.
No. Right, I get you. But remember what we said from the Swordsman conversation. I'm going to bring you back because you're having a hard time focusing today. From the sword fighters to the archer conversation. I don't know. I'm not talking about is Batman the world's greatest archer?
No. I know that a Jedi could shoot an arrow, let it go about 5 feet forward, control it with their mind, and then send it wherever they want, just like they would do with the whistling. I know the Jedi could do that. So is Jedi an archer?
Well, then here, let me get this to you. I don't know that.
Okay. Well, according to your logic, he is an archer. According to your logic, he is an archer.
Absolutely not. According to my logic, he's not, because he has not mastered the craft of it. So
what part did he not master? What part did he not master?
Time out. So, to your point, if I get a sword, if I get a lightsaber, am I now a Jedi Knight?
If you can move things with your mind, yeah.
Whoa. No. Not the mind part of it, brother. If I get a Padawan haircut and a lightsaber, to your logic, I am now a Jedi.
When did I ever say that?
Whoa. Wait. You just said, I didn't say
anything about looking like an archer.
Time out, brother. My point was...
Time in,
Professor,
sister.
Whatever you like to do, whatever role reversal you're into, I don't judge. You said Professor X is an archer because he can pull a bow and mind tap and use and control the arrow.
Well, I changed it for a Jedi because you brought up a good point. He has to use the little helmet thing. So that's fine. So I'll change it to a Jedi. So that way he doesn't have to use anything.
So you're saying that so we're gonna put any Jedi in our list of archers because we were talking about archers. That's what we got on.
We'll put a master because you said a master at it. So let's put a Jedi master. Let's put Yoda in it.
Okay, so a Jedi master is now in our top ranking of archers just because he can move it. Now,
well, if you count whistling in it, yeah, I would definitely count a Jedi in it. But
see, again, what about the point of the whistle that I can whistle? I'm not moving an arrow, but if I've learned the techniques of that race, I will be able to. It's just not no rando, dude. It is. And I get it. You're lazy. You don't want to put the work in. No one does. I don't like putting work in, but you got to put the work in, and you learn your craft.
Right, but I don't understand why that's different from a Jedi controlling it with their mind, that they've put in the work in to control and to master.
They put the work in to control their mind.
Just like they put the work in to control their whistle.
Right, but that's different from hold on. But it's not just the whistle; it's the whistle and the archery. Why can't you put both of them together? The whistle
because you don't have like my
archery.
point is you don't. If you're controlling it after it leaves the bow with a whistle, it has nothing to do with your release.
But
that is
what?
my point because a Jedi can shoot the arrow and then control it.
But then I just said the point. I have a different point of view. You have a different point of view, and it's all respect. But the points of view I brought up were these 2 points of view. Again, the Hawkeye point of view, where the villain takes the bow, he can't even pull the bow back because he has no idea how to do it and no technique or mastery of it. And number 2, the whistling of the whole race. That's just like, again, a Jedi could whistle or do whatever. The arrow's not going to do anything. It is the complete and. Again, we got off the conversation of the whole archer thing and just got into this race of people. I want to bring it back to the race of those people. The race of archers are like this. It's not one or the other. They exist as a mastery of the bow and arrow and a mastery of the whistle. That mastery of the bow and arrow, that mastery of the whistle, is unique to the wood on their planet that they make the wood of the bow from, and they make the wood of the arrow from. So when a Jedi takes any log 2x4 and is using it as he's saying, "Hey, this 2x4 is now my arrow," that's cool. That's not the same thing.
But why? You still have not explained why.
Because the Jedi, I just explained, because the Jedi is mastering his mind of this 2x4, where this race of people, they can't master the 2x4. They have to have a mastery of that certain wood and a mastery of the technique of the bow and arrow. If the Jedi doesn't use his Jedi mind tricks and uses a bow and arrow from those folks, he is just not doing anything.
So what would that race of people do without whistling?
So they still are archers too. But I don't want to get away from that because again, you want to separate those two.
No, I don't. I think the whistling and the mind control is the same thing.
It's not. The whistling is not mind control. It's mastering of something other than a physical element, because you're mastering whistling. So that's controlling I get you, but
whistling.
again, you have mastered how to throw a 2x4 like an arrow, as opposed to.
So get the 2x4 out of your head. The Jedi can just grab a bow and arrow and say, "I'm an archer," and control the arrow just like they control it with their whistling.
Right. But again, that is like literally lying and trickery. I'm an archer because I'm using my telekinesis, Jedi mind tricks, to make this arrow hit the bullseye every time, as opposed to a person who doesn't have the gift of telekinesis, who says, "Well, why are you an archer?" "I'm an archer because I'm a Jedi, and I just made it hit a bullseye." "Why are you an archer?"
"Because I whistle."
Stop.
Because I whistle.
See, that's what
you're about to say. Because that's what you're about to say. I have a certain wood, and I whistle to it.
Nah, see, here it goes. I gave you totally all this time to get your thing, but when I'm about to give my expectation, I get cut off just to try and play me. So here, get it out of your system, but let me throw it to you again. I'm a Jedi. I made the arrow hit a bullseye because of my Jedi mind tricks and my telekinesis, which I could. And here's another trick: I'm going to put an arrow on my finger and do the same thing with it too. Now, with our race of people, why are you an archer? Because I have learned this technique, and through my whistling, I have made it hit the bullseye. If my whistle's off, hold on, time out. If my whistle's off, or if my aim is off for some reason, and I have not mastered either one of these, I'm not going to hit a bullseye. But if I'm a Jedi, but if I'm a Jedi, and I've learned it, and I've learned the Jedi ways, dude, again, it could be anything. The archers can't use 2x4s. The archers can't use a bike or anything. They have to use what their gift and craft are. I want to break it back down to I don't care. So then, by your logic, you can say that, man, the greatest sword fighter in the world is actually Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And I would not object to that.
You know? Oh, actually, wait, sorry.
And I wouldn't object to somebody saying a Jedi would be the greatest basketball player. I wouldn't object to somebody saying a Jedi would be the greatest leaper, because they had. If you can use those abilities, then that makes you the best.
So see,
I wouldn't object to that.
So here, it is this language, because you agree with that. And that's awesome. I disagree with that, because I think technique has a lot to do with just giving this saying that I have it because I like. It's like saying, man, well, why are you the world's greatest car collector? I don't know. Why do you know so much about cars? Well, because I have to read about cars and all this stuff. No, well, I just know about cars because I own a lot of cars. It's the same thing. You're splitting hairs, and people can say it's the same thing, but it's not. There's a level of knowledge and acquiring of knowledge and the sweat of it all, you know? And so I don't want to put a Jedi into the category of the archer, because then you could just go like any person that does Jedi training can do that too. It doesn't work for me like that. It just
I'm with you. I'm cool with not putting a Jedi in it, as long as we don't put the whistleblowers in it either.
Well, but I have to, because
then the Jedi stays.
That's fine. The Jedi can stay, and it's okay. But I just want you to understand that the original conversation was about archers, and we're talking about like these people because they come from a race of archers.
And can control their arrow with their whistling and make it go whichever direction they want, even after it fires.
Time out. They cannot make it go whichever way they want. You're, again, going off the silly movie part. They can control the way it moves when they can't make it go like a 720, but that's okay. I get it. Look, I get it, and I love it. I love your spirit about it, but I just want to break it down to, since we covered sword fighters, and since we brought up archers, I would put those in my list of archers. And the Jedi thing to me was just a waste of a conversation, and Professor X too, because they get their knowledge. It's like they stole the knowledge. They didn't have to do the sweat of it all. And you have a point. If you can steal it, take it. I'd rather sweat for it, man. You know.
Nah,
I'm literally like Bright Eyes, the singer songwriter in this part, where I'd rather be working for my paycheck than waiting to win the lottery. That's just how I feel. That's it. And let's move on.
Well, is the lottery coming?
Well, let's move on.
Does the lottery come?
Who knows? But if I can move it with my mind as a Jedi, I can get the numbers, because who cares, right?
So I think we're in agreement that Jedi are the greatest archers.
I think you're in agreement with yourself.
So you don't think that Jedi are archers?
Jedis are not. How do you say it? Jedis are not archers.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Just for clarity's sake, because you're more of the Star Wars fan than I am. When have you ever seen a Jedi with a bow and arrow?
Oh, never seen them. Okay. But how easy would it be to just grab a nice long stick, put a string on it, and pull an arrow back, let it go wherever you want, and then control it with your mind? You're an archer.
Totally. You once again, Regular Scott, you have broken things down to its simplest form. You're right. It would be nothing. You're right. You're absolutely right.
So that could have saved us 20 minutes.
Oh my God, this could have saved us 25 minutes. Jedis are amazing.
All you have to do is just say you're right.
Yeah, all you just do listen. I thought you were here to like, you know, bring order to the Jedi, not control it because it's just one person.
All right, great. Well, it looks like we won't be talking about trench coats.
Well, because you said you were like, man, I think there's a wrestling show on. What can I waste some time for my nonsense argument so I can watch this wrestling show?
Well, I wouldn't have did that because I only wanted to go about an hour and a half. We're already an hour and 50 in.
Oh, again, dude, you kind of we had some. We'll have to save our non-superhero movie TV conversation, our trench coat versus capes conversation, our Captain Planet conversation, because you not just listen to me, not just to have a poignant argument. You just wanted to be right about Professor X and a Jedi, who, by the way, I want to bring up once again, when we're discussing our Archer conversation, to our listeners who are much smarter than me and way smarter than regular Scott. Have you ever seen Professor X with a bow and arrow?
Again, same thing with the Jedis. You don't have to see it. You don't have to see it. As long as they have a string and a long stick and an arrow, and if they control it with something that they mastered,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, they're
regular Scott will agree with me. If we're going to rank the number one archer, I was thinking it would not be like Robin Hood or anything like that. Regular Scott would definitely agree the number one archer is going to definitely be Magneto. Or Polaris, correct. Yes.
I'd probably go with Yoda.
No, I mean, but you know, Magneto, though. You know what I'm saying?
I'd probably go with Yoda.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Imagine, like, Maximus leading his Roman troops, and they're saying, light your arrows, fire them across the sky, and the arrows will never stay lit, by the way, but they're firing across the sky. Yoda could take out maybe like 7, 8 arrows and move them. Magneto could use his amazing archery skills and take out all those arrows and throw them back the other way without even whistling.
I'd have a little bit more faith that Yoda could take out more than 6.
Maybe like 10, dude. You don't think he could, like a whole barrage of arrows. Yoda ain't taking them all out, dude.
Yeah.
The Jedis can barely take out 2 lasers at the same time. So I'm going to give him like maybe 20. But, like, you know.
I mean, I think that's a little underwhelming, but all right. Yeah, I get you. And Magneto could be, if it's a metal arrow, yeah, Magneto could be considered the greatest archer.
I'm excited about the new BBC program that's coming on. I think slated 2020. Magneto, world's greatest archer.
Hey,
it's awesome.
Listen. If you can control it with your mind after it releases, all you gotta do is just find string, a stick, and an arrow, and you're an archer according to the whistleblowers.
All you need is a string, a piece of beef jerky, a piece of wood, and a yardstick, and you're an archer. Because that's what Oliver Queen did on the island to survive. He just used it. He used his mind. He used his money. He used his money to control the arrow.
But no, he didn't. He didn't have any money on the island.
That's real skill when you use your money to control the arrow.
Well, so we got a lot planned for next week. We'll see if we actually
next week, to all of our listeners, be ready for the 4-hour show next week.
No, we won't hit 2 hours ever again, hopefully. So let's get to our final blows. I didn't even do our one's got to go. One's got to go very quickly. Aragon, Achilles, Connor McLeod, Duncan McLeod.
Professor X.
Okay. I'm getting rid of... we don't need 2 McLeods. Let's get rid of Connor. I'm more familiar with Duncan.
But it's out of context. One's got to go for what? I mean, what does that mean? Like, they're gone forever? Or the one's got to go for the greatest sword fighter? One's got to go for the greatest beard person? I don't know what the category
one's
is.
One's got to go. Whatever your reasoning is.
Well, man. then I revised my earlier thing about Professor X. And, man, it's hard. Shoot. I'm going to say Yoda.
Okay. So he picked Yoda, and I went with...
Order 66 every time.
And I went with Connor. Time. So, Oz, what you got for the final blow?
Man, we had a whole lot of topics that were going to be really awesome to discuss, but I guess we'll save that for next week. I do want to remind all of our listeners, please send us your tweets, send us your emails, send us anything you can. Or if you know my number, call me and tell me what you want me to talk about next show. Because I enjoy a rant. I enjoy a good argument. I even enjoy a not good argument.
You gonna give out your phone number too while you at it?
So hold on. What did I? You just interrupted me when I just said, if you know my phone number, to hit me up on my phone number. If you know my phone number, I'm not giving out my phone number, but I said if you know my phone number, that's what I said. But go ahead. What you got to say about Professor X? Go ahead. I'm listening.
Shout out to
Professor X. You got a lot. You want to interrupt me? Go ahead. Get out.
Shout out to Professor X.
Okay. Here, I'll help you. Regular Scott's final blow is Dick Grayson, greatest archer, greatest swords fighter ever.
Top 5. My final blow is definitely check out the crossover collision to hear about Mr. Terrific and Nightcrawler.
Wow.
Definitely check out that matchup.
Were you on the show?
And definitely check out Unsupervised. Shout out to West Coast Jay. He was on our show last week, so he gets an extra plug this week for filling in.
Well, actually, it wasn't West Coast Jay. It was Macho Man Vandal Savage, actually, who was on our show.
There we go. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to my grandmother, who has started going back to work and is out there on the front lines. She works at a hospital. She is a chaplain and works very hard, elderly lady, but still moves around very well. And so shout out to you for being on the front lines, holding it down, always doing what you're supposed to do. So shout out to you, Grandma. Oz, tell everyone we'll talk to them next time.
As usual, good people, don't get confused by Jedi mind tricks, and peace and chicken grease.
Y'all have a good time, because we're going to have a good time till we talk to y'all next time. Peace.
Clown, dude. Straight clown.
Welcome to the Anything, Everything, and Nothing podcast with Lynn and Kim. Join us as we discuss the latest in everything from entertainment and current events to the craziness that is our real life.
Let's laugh, let's live, let's talk about it. New episode every Tuesday on the Defy Life Podcast Network. And remember, if you're not defying life, then what are you doing? Lynn and Kim.